Hi, this is Mrs. Swigart, and today we're doing lesson 2.1, Integers and Absolute Value. Now this is a bit of an introduction to integers and number systems, and so it shouldn't be too hard. Okay, our objective is to state the coordinates of a point on a number line, to graph integers on a number line, and to also add and subtract integers on we're going to touch on that one. We're going to deal with it more tomorrow. Okay, first, if you have a number line and they say a equals 6 or b equals -2, you have to be able to place it on the number line. So the a on this one would be here, the b would be under the -2, c would be under 5, d will be under 3, e is under -4, and f is at 0. Down below, g is at 1, h is at 2, I is at 4, j is at -6, k is at -5, and L is at -2. So that's pretty simple. That should be easy. Now on these you're saying if it's positive or negative, if it's expressing a situation. So a gain of 5 yards would be a +5. A loss is negative. A deposit would be positive. A penalty would be negative. A profit would be a positive. A withdrawal would be a negative. 2 hours before lunch, that one would be a negative because it just would be a negative because you're not at lunch. You're counting down to it. And then 30 above would be a positive. Number 7 is probably the trickiest one in the bunch. Okay, now, whenever we think about ordered pairs, it might help us to think about where they are on a number line and understand that if it's to the right, it's larger. So 4 is to the right of -3 on a number line, so 4 is larger. 0 is to the right of -1, so 0 is larger. So think, which one is to the right of the other one? So -4 versus -10, well, it'd be -4 because it's to the right on a number line. 6 to 8, 6 is to the right of -8 on a number line. 5 is to the right. -3 is to the right of -8 on a number line. Remember, they're backwards because they're integers. Same thing with number 7. -2 is bigger than -9 because it's backwards, it's integers. -30 is smaller than -10. That one is going to get you. Be careful. Remember, integers are backwards. Okay, when we're placing the numbers in an order in a list, same thing. Take the biggest negative number and it's going to be first. And then it'd be -16, -10, -6, and then 61. Anything that's positive is always larger than a negative. Same thing on number 2. Take the biggest negative number, which would be -43, and put them in descending order. The integers are going to go backwards to you. Be careful. Make sure you stay consistent. Double check yourself. And then number 3, same thing, -59 would be your smallest number. Even though you think in your brain you're going, oh, that's the biggest number, it can't be. Integers are backwards. Okay, now absolute value does play with things. Remember, when we pull it out of the bracket, it becomes positive. So on number 2, we got to be careful. Okay, number 1, 3 is to the right, so it's larger. Number 2, -9 to the absolute value would be +9, so these would be equal. On the next one, 6 is already positive, but it is larger. -2 is to the right on a number line, so it's larger. +7, +7, these would be equal to each other. Because remember, you're not evaluating the distance, the number itself, you're evaluating the distance from 0. Okay, number 6 would be +4, and the negative in front of that absolute value makes that a -2. So be careful. So our +4 would be bigger than our -2. On the next one, it's going to be +8 and +6, so 8's larger. On number 8, that's another one of those tricky ones. It's a +3 when you pull it out, but then it's got a negative, so it's a -3. So -3 versus -2, which makes -2 larger. Number 9 is a tricky one too. You got that double negative thing. It's a positive 8 when I pull it out, but it's got a negative. So it's negative 8 versus negative 8. So those are equal. Be really careful thinking those through. Okay, 5 is already positive, so it's larger. Okay, on a number line, we need to understand there's different number systems involved. Integers would be all your negatives and your positives, including 0. Okay, whole numbers would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. But you do include 0 when you're talking whole numbers. And the last one we're going to talk about right now is natural numbers. And we call these also the counting numbers. They do not include 0. Okay, so if you're counting objects, you don't go 0, 1, 2, 3. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So that's why they're called the natural number. When we start to count, we naturally go to that. Okay, keep those in mind though, because you may need those for reference for a logic problem. Okay, absolute value, it's the distance from 0. Distance can never be negative, that's why it's always positive. The symbol for it is the 2 parallel lines on each side of the number or the letter. Okay, now here, 7 is 7. The absolute value of 10 is 10, because it's 10 places on a number line. The absolute value of negative 100 is positive 100, because it's talking about the distance from 0. 5 minus 8 would be negative 3, but then when we would pull it out, it becomes positive 3. Okay, now let's look at this one. 7, take away negative 2. Well, negative 2 becomes positive 2, but it's got a negative in front. This is why we did those problems a while ago, earlier, when they had the double negative. Remember, this is still a negative 2. So 7 minus 2 is 5. So our answer is positive 5, not negative 5. Okay? On this one, you've got to work the problem. You have double negatives, so that becomes a positive 3 because of that. You're going to have this. Now you subtract because you have different signs. And so you have a negative 1 inside. What is my answer? Positive 1, because it's always positive when you pull it out. That's it, boys and girls. Good luck tomorrow. Bye.